Certainly not that.
We're into it. Oh, good afternoon, fellow councillors and staff. Thank you for attending today's extraordinary meeting. I'll declare the meeting open. And before we proceed, I'll just say a short whakatauki, he waka eka noa, which means the canoe which we are in all together. Apologies. We've got one from Larry from lateness. He's got a flat tyre. Any further apologies?
Dato's going to zoom in, I think.
Yeah, he hasn't come yet. It's open for him.
We'll take Larry as a late. Would someone like to move? And someone like to see move Councillor Graham, move Councillor Crosty. Do we have any urgent business or late items? Declarations of interest? Nothing. And we have no public forum today. So we'll move on to the agenda.
Through you, Your Worship, for agenda item 1, this paper is basically a paper that will formalise the process going forward that we've pretty well talked through in workshops previously. It covers a few legal matters which are self-explanatory. Apart from that, I'll just take it as read, and through Your Worship, ask if there are any questions.
So does anyone have any matters rising or questions or anything for Peter?
So just through you, Worship, too, we are intending to go through the consultation document page by page. So if there's any queries to that, we weren't intending to go through the rest of the documents page by page, but we just want to make sure, because that's quite a key document for engagement with the community. And this is the first time we brought it together that we get all of your feedback on that for final sign.
Your Worship.
Councillor Kennedy.
Just a question. Have we thinked all resources and social media that we need to get everything out? Have we covered all our bases? Is there anything new that we have missed?
I'll open the question. I'll answer the question initially, and Becky might like to join in on that question. In this paper, the outline of what we're doing is pretty well explained. All of those things are in progress. There's the website that's being put up, Social Pinpoint, which will be a key communication point, as well as the way people can submit. I might just go into the next point about that. There is an opportunity after this meeting to view that if they would like. So the answer is, I believe so. Becky, is there any exceptions to what we've just covered?
Yeah, through you, Your Worship. So we are working on a media release that will go out after this meeting at some point about the consultation. We have been putting updates into community papers for the last couple of weeks, just letting people know that consultation will start, but of course it's pending decisions today. So once we've got everything all good to go, then we'll be going out with social media and getting that engagement, having the website up and running as well, with where people can give their feedback online.
Cool. Thank you.
So if there's no questions, as Jules indicated, we might actually refer to the consultation document through Your Worship and do a page turn and see if members have got any views on what's being proposed.
And their OneDrives, what's that one?
Should be the first one.
First one.
Fees and charges. No, the consultation document.
Draft.
Fees and charges is the next agenda item. Or you can have a hard copy.
Draft in.
Yeah, that's all. It's consultation. So we'll just wait to make sure everyone's found that. You do have a hard copy if someone's struggling.
So that's under separate cover 01A in your OneDrive to it. What was that, sorry?
02A is fees and charges.
01A.
01A is the
01A is
consultation
the
draft.
draft.
Or if you're really struggling, you can find it through our council website as well.
Everyone got it up in front of them? Righto, fire away, Peter.
So, obviously we've got a cover page. On page 1, ask if there's any comments. It's straightforward.
Key dates and contents.
Page 2.
Has someone tried the scan code? Does it work?
It won't work till my website's live. At the moment, so it works, it does
Yeah.
work, but it just takes you to the generic consultation pages, whereas once I set the pages live, it'll be tomorrow.
It's a bit frustrating
Tomorrow it will go to
when
where it needs
strike
to.
things and the QR codes don't work.
Fair point.
So we assure you it will work.
It will
It will be
When
working
it's
tomorrow.
So page 2. I presume everybody's comfortable with how they've been described.
No.
No changes to photos are allowed.
Going on to page 3, I believe the Mayor's Forward was circulated to elected members, Your Worship.
Did you get that?
I did.
We do
Well,
have.
that's what you were
You
doing.
got special people.
Said you were gonna do it.
Oh, right, I'll email Fish for that.
Um,
I'll get Becky to do it.
I believe.
So, Your Worship.
We'll print you a copy.
Well, no, we've got printed copies. We can pass them around now.
Oh,
Yeah, you'll distribute.
we can flick them around and.
I think they're up there.
Okay.
We might come back to that, Your Worship,
Right.
while they're being distributed.
I can email.
No, we'll distribute them in hard copy.
Page 4, financial summary. Did councils have any comments on that?
Pretty technical.
Page 5, continuing on that section. Any comments? Page 6. Also, rates, debts, investment update. Any comments?
Yeah, Peter, yeah, through the chair, Peter, there was some comments there on that, we've got those big depreciation costs which force us into the book value deficit. We sort of explain it a bit, but it doesn't really explain that it's not a cash liability. I just wonder.
Might ask Sharon if she would comment on that.
I understand it, but I'm just looking, if someone looked at it and goes, oh gee, the forecasting is $13 million loss.
Sharon, have you got a microphone down
Yes, I sure do, but I didn't quite hear it.
I was just around the comments around the depreciation, item number 7 there. Like, we've got an annual planned deficit of 13 million. But the big, huge variation between there and the long-term plan, we know it's that depreciation changes. I'm just wondering whether that's explained well enough from a cash, no cash liability point of view.
Through you, Your Worship. So we could put a wee footnote on there even and say something about, the depreciation so much is not funded, or there was a big uplift in our roading depreciation between the long-term plan and when we did this budget. We can put more commentary on that.
Yeah, it's probably only that line saying that there's no, because there it looks like, something that we understand, but I'm not quite sure someone looking at it.
Is there an additional comment you would like added, like this is not cash funded currently or something like that?
Yeah, well, there's no cash. It's probably only one sentence, isn't it?
It's not a cash liability, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is if you're listening to LGFA.
Well, it is.
Yeah, happy to consider a change there, if we can catch up with Sharon and look at an additional sentence.
I'm sure there's other members of the public out there who've got an eye for detail like you, Councillor.
Well, they might spot that one.
Council, what we were ex-council, what we were.
Yeah, that's not, there's no mistakes there. There's nothing. It's
Yeah.
just, it is what it is.
Just explaining it.
Yeah.
Sharon, can you think up
One
some
line.
wording, please?
Thank you, Sharon. Back to you, Peter.
On that page, before we finalise, you might note that there's been some handouts for the session with some.
Just to be clear, we're on page 6. Peter?
Page 6, yes. Some consequential amendments since the paper went out. On that one, on the page, this handout for the annual plan, on page 6, it's noted that there's some suggested text that's to be added for you, subject to your consideration, that the words council expects to end up within the limit at the end of paragraph 3 at the bottom of page 6.
So you think about adding that in?
Yep. I think Steve Hill recommended we do that.
So that's down here.
Would it be along the lines council anticipates to do better, or, you know, not?
To end up, what we're really signalling is that we expect to end up within the rates. So whether you want anticipates or expects, happy to be guided by council.
Expects is a better word than anticipate, isn't it?
Anticipates is a maybe, expects is a bit more of a firm we want to be under. We're going to be under.
I love your confidence.
We know what we've got up our sleeve, John. So we're happy with expects?
Yep.
Rightio. Sorry, some of these changes are also on the pages that have been distributed. A lot of these are relatively minor edits, but we wanted to just make sure they're highlighted for you. Some of them are just tweaking where the numbers aren't correct and things like that.
Okay. Through your worship, do you want to go back to the year forward to discuss that?
Oh, right, we might as well already.
Well, we probably need to give people a few minutes to read it.
Yeah.
Your worship.
Take some time to read it.
I'll read it.
Shall we go through the rest of this first, and then we'll jump back to that?
Keep going?
No, I'm fine, yeah.
Okay. Going to page 7. Again, I'd ask if there's any questions for you, your worship.
Page 7.
Finance, compliance.
Okay. Might move on to page 8. Major update, projects update. Okay.
So just on that one, I just would like to highlight, we have flagged the issue of the additional costs for the Greenfield Balmoral to Peka scheme. Depending on how it's funded, that won't necessarily be funded by customers of the Balmoral to Peka scheme if our rates capping goes through. So just wanting to highlight that. If that doesn't go through, then but just other thing I wanted to point out is it's actually not a huge amount from a loan funding perspective. It's actually 77k a year for that amount of capital for a 25-year loan. So whilst a big amount one-off as an annual amount, it's not actually massive. But if the funding proposal goes through, it's going to be picked up by other customers. So I just wanted to flag that. We have mentioned it, and we've put it into the CD. And it's in the budgets as they are at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other major projects that need to be on here. Pretty nails it done.
There's a couple of pages of them. And then there's schedule of capital projects. So move on to page 9.
Yeah. The continuation is indicated of the previous page. No comments. We'll move to the summary of projects on page 10, proposed schedule. Any comments from members through you, your worship?
It's just doesn't specifically relate to these, but just wanted to highlight to council with the significant increases in diesel and prospective increases in pipe costs, we're just looking at pausing about 5 or 6 pipe renewal projects that's planned between now and the end of the year. It doesn't make sense to me to be tendering them at a very high cost cycle with what's going on internationally. So we haven't made that call yet, just wanted to flag that that might mean a few projects get pushed forward into next year. Because if the petrol prices come down, pipe prices as well as contractors' prices come down too. So it doesn't materially change this, it just might mean in the end of year wash up, we might be pushing a few of those projects forward.
Okay. That goes through to, again, page 11 and through to 12. Apologies.
First round's on you, Peter.
I thought that was off on the play. Page 12 and page 13. No comments, we'll move on.
And now we get into the detail where we want to make sure we're actually got the messaging correct for some of these key decisions. So really keen to make sure that you're comfortable with our wording and the explanation of some of those key decision items through the annual plan.
So just touching there though, Peter, on those panels as you're going through, so the red ones clearly states project council deleted, no longer required.
Yep.
Would they were laid out like this last plan? Colour coding?
Not sure. Sorry.
They were possibly different colours. There's a lot more colours on this one.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a lot more detail.
It actually makes it a lot easier to go in and bang, get turned in on it. Yeah. Colour code. Right.
Can I just ask on that page 11 back to on the rural water improvements or renewals, there's no that work that's got to be done, the main line into Clinton, the Clyde Pomahaka line. It's been talked about for a long time. There's no mention of that. Was it budgeted this year to be carried forward? The one that's
I have to check it, mate. If it's already in this year's budget, it won't be in.
it's the one that hasn't been, sort of been sitting there for a long time until it was repriced. It'll be close to $1 million.
We'll ask the question. I think it was in this year's budget.
Yeah. Okay. It may have even been in the previous one.
Carried forward.
Is it started?
No, they've had to retender the it's a long story, but yeah.
It might be again. Might be another re-tendering.
No, it won't be this time. It'll be done.
Right, Peter.
Okay. So we'll confirm on that. The
old Lake Road line replacement is what it's called.
Going back now to page 14. So we might do these element by element. The first element is the proposed closure of Milton Swimming Pool. And this is the explanation of what is being proposed. You'll see there's a question about have you say, and at the end of this document, you'll see the questions. We can do them separately or at the end. Now or at the end. I propose we just go through the document as read and ask if there's any comments on the text here.
Your Worship, I just wonder with the poll, I think that's okay, Peter. Should we put a total? So saying like what it's $30 per ratepayer, but it's
Does say how much total.
No, just above that, 150.
oh, sorry, yeah, ahead of myself. Yeah, no, that's what I was looking for.
Any other thoughts, if you're comfortable?
Just through you, Worship, sort of reasonably new to me, but as you read through that, the last comment is disadvantages of not opening the pool. I know we're telling them above that the advantages, but it's sort of the last thing you're reading, but doesn't actually say advantages of shutting it down. So when you read through that, you're sort of reflecting to what's the bad things about shutting.
I suppose the advantages of the cost.
Yeah, but it's not actually documented as an advantage. That's just when I read through that, it's actually the last thing could sway you.
Should we change it to cost savings? For
Advantages with cost savings or something, yeah, because you've got disadvantages, just the wording, I'm not sure, but sort of leaves you thinking.
So through you, Your Worship, so just a heading that's advantages of not opening.
Yeah, I'm not really sure the answer, but it's just the way it reads, leaves you in that mind.
Yeah, because I guess the advantage would be the savings. So we could have a heading above that to say advantage.
Can we change the estimated rating impact to cost savings from?
Cost savings?
Savings, or just even savings. Councillor Brown.
Would there be any point in putting there what each swim costs at present? Because it's up there, isn't it? It's $40, isn't it? The swim?
Well, through you, Your Worship, I just don't think we should get into that, because if we get into that for the new pool as well, it might be quite idle.
Yeah.
Which we don't know, because we're not sure how much use it's going to get. It's going to get way more use than the current pool, sure.
It will affect the police one.
So can I just clarify for Becky, the aim would be to amend the heading estimated rating impact to cost savings, words to that effect.
Well, maybe we say impacts of not opening the pool on the bottom one rather than disadvantages. Would that be better?
Yeah, just that disadvantage leaves that the last thing in your mind. And it's
And then not having advantages.
Then we could say savings for not opening in the 2027 year, and then impacts of not opening the pool.
Savings impacts, yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. If we're good on with that, we'll move on through Your Worship. The next element is about urban water rating maps. I might ask Jules to talk to this.
Yeah, this is just really formalising what has been implemented by our rating team for a long time, and one of the reasons is this actually gives a formal map that we can hand over to the new water CCO. So you've all looked at them in your area. It is for consultation, and if people think we've got it right, wrong, they can come back to us and make a submission. So we didn't think this needed a whole page. It was more just highlighting it as part of the consultation. And I'm sure people will tell us we would have got it wrong.
So no further questions, Your Worship. We'll move to the next item on page 15, which is Integrated Tapanui Library and West Otago Community Centre. Might just give members, elected members an opportunity to quickly look through that and ask if there's any questions or suggestions.
I think through Your Worship too, one of the key things were flagged is that under option 3, there are still going to be costs for dealing with the library. And we haven't put that in the consultation question, but it is in this additional information. And also the community centre, they still need to redo their roof. So even if you say don't spend this money on it, it doesn't mean there's not going to be other money in the future, other expenditure required in the future. So yeah, we haven't actually put that in the question, but it's highlighted in this information.
How does it read for you, Councillor Kennedy?
No, it reads fine.
Comfortable with that? As I dare say, the majority of the councillors, when they get questions, I'll be directing their ratepayers to you.
So we might move on then, Your Worship.
Lovely.
Page 16.
Oh,
Yep, sure.
sorry. Yeah, I know. I might.
Would you spot, Simon?
I haven't spotted it, but I was just unfortunately it might take another sentence and it would muck up the whole page because you've got it all on one page.
I can make the picture smaller.
Just the recognition that the community centre committee over there has already spent nearly $1 million on other roofing renewals. But this isn't just a one-off.
No.
Would you want that right at the start in the intro?
Yeah, probably, yes,
So tacked onto that first
So
paragraph?
sorry, through you, Worship, in the third paragraph down, having already undergone various upgrades, we could put it in
yeah.
that paragraph.
Just
Get a
maybe,
figure.
maybe get a figure off them. Yeah, just, because if they have put a substantial amount in already.
Yeah, that's a good idea. 'Cause it's easy to think they haven't.
That's what we were talking about this morning, wasn't it?
Very good.
Thank you for that input, Simon.
You should have, you've got room for 7 or 8 words here. with that.
I'll figure it out. Make the picture a bit smaller.
So we might then move on to page 16 through your worship, voluntary targeted rates.
So there has been a little bit of a change to this from the workshop, Your Worship, which we've tried to categorise them in groupings rather than have individual specific things that we would fund. So they've been categorised into home energy improvements, infrastructure, and urgent health and safety. So rather than having a list of 7 or 8 specific things, as long as they fit into those categories, they can be, we can issue a voluntary targeted rate. That was based on legal advice and Yay sorting out some details. So thanks, Yay.
Good man.
Assume there's no comments then, we'll move on.
We'll just give councillor make a 10-minute at the moment. All right? Okay, we'll move on.
So this one we're sure is going to generate some discussion because it has internally as well.
So page 17, rural water scheme funding changes. I might ask Jules to comment on this.
Yeah, so we've tried to give some examples of how it will work for different customers. We're just concerned it might be confusing, but we're just keen to get your guys' feedback as you think it adds value, or whether we just write one example rather than 3 different examples of how it might work for different customers. So really keen to get some feedback. How do we explain this concept in a succinct and understandable way to our customers?
If you give one comment, one thing, I'm sure the ones that don't will voice, and we will get submissions from them, so we'll have a good idea of what sort of areas we're missing.
Yeah, I would have just put the one sample in where someone disconnected the whole lot.
Which is C.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about this morning, but just keen. We thought, well, actually, here's 3 options. We'll see what the council thinks, and if we can make it simpler and easy to understand, then great.
Your Worship, I would agree with Councillor Mekatemi. I thought the B one could have been confusing. I had to read it 2 or 3 times to make sure it was what I thought it was saying. So, customer A or customer C, or just customer C?
So customer A is someone who gives up part of the units. Customer B is someone who transfers part of the units to someone else. Sorry, customer B, and customer C is someone who disconnects completely. But happy to be guided by council as to what's appropriate, and we can deal with some other ones. And sounding on that, from that direction, sounds like customer C, just a complete disconnection is the way we do it. Maybe we describe it as complete disconnection from the scheme.
Even if you had this free, Jules, the way you'd just specified it then, transfer or complete or.
Yeah.
It gets quite nuanced in terms of transfer to other customers, those sorts of things. So yeah, we're happy to be guided by council. Just don't want to make it confusing for people to say I didn't actually understand what you were saying.
That's right. Your Worship.
Councillor Mekatemi. Councillor Con.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just from experience with the Balmoral Tuapeka scheme, there's not too many units going from one property to another now. It's more either going right off or dropping some units. But probably more the right off. That's where we're seeing that forestry companies. There's one on the books right now, actually. The forestry company wanted to drop 8 units or 10 units or something. So I guess it's, yeah. All 3 have got really good information, but it's how we portray that, I suppose.
We're just trying to avoid confusion.
I agree, yeah.
This isn't probably quite in the plan, but can I just ask the question so that when we're talking about drop-in partial units, if someone does a swap, like has happened in the past, the person that relinquishes the swap units, do they have to still pay an assistance charge?
No, because the
No.
scheme hasn't, it's about the overall reduction for the
Yes.
scheme. So if they have transferred units, the scheme hasn't lost the sale of those units. So that's why we've tried to show under option B, that customer would get the benefit. They would not be charged at all for those transferred units because they haven't completely disappeared from the scheme. They've kept 5 units and they've transferred 5 units.
Yeah. Your Worship, I think,
Actually, they've reduced 5 units, sorry,
yeah,
and they've transferred 5 units. So they're still getting charged for the half rate for the 5 units that completely dropped off the scheme.
yeah.
This is the point, it actually can be quite confusing.
But maybe with what Councillor Cross is saying, maybe a little bit more, so instead of customer A, B and C, maybe there's a different way to head that.
Scenario,
Yeah, scenarios, because they're all live. They're all things that do happen and will happen.
but if the bulk is complete disconnection, are we better just to focus on that?
Yeah,
And those other ones might be people asking about the detail later on, but if we're starting to see complete disconnections, then do we just focus on that to make it simple?
well, through you, Your Worship, I think that in the Balmoral to Apita scheme, especially, and I suspect some of the schemes that are that way, that it's going to be the forestry companies that are going to disconnect and they'll be totals. So maybe that's the
Maybe.
mainly, not all.
We can still explain individual scenarios if people have questions. It's just to try and not confuse people through the consultation process. Happy to be guided with whatever way the council wants to provide direction.
Got it on proposed edits then? Sorry. Any proposed edits for Peter?
No, sir. Leaning on the head of the order.
Yeah,
I definitely think the middle option is quite confusing. So if we
Yeah,
are going to
yeah,
put
I
any,
would
it would
agree.
be the first one and the third one.
that's what I would, Your Worship, that's what the way I would lean.
And we change them from customer A and customer C to a description of, so A would be partial disconnection,
Yeah,
C would be complete disconnection.
That would make sense to me.
Because I think that partial disconnection will come into play if people hate them.
yeah,
The other thing we did discuss this morning would be adding a line about the total they'd have to pay, just to make it absolutely clear, like people can times 500 by 10 units, but we sort of thought we might add a line that says total water cost 5,000 and then changes to without availability charge, just to make it really clear. You're only paying $500 less for dropping 2 units. You're still paying $2,500 compared to $5,000 when you're dropping all the 10 units.
I guess, Your Worship, like through you, I guess that maybe there's a sentence that could say if your units are picked up by another customer within your scheme, there will be no,
It does.
well, it sort of does, but
I think it's quite clear if you read it before you go to that charge. You just go straight to that chart, as a lot of people do. Well, then, yeah, I get a bit confused. But if you're reading the paragraphs beforehand, it clarifies it a lot.
Yeah, the second paragraph under availability charging says they're receiving since 1 July 2023 where those units have not been transferred to another customer.
okay, well, then we'll just leave it, take customer B out, get on with it. That's my thoughts.
I was just thinking possibly in the intro at the top there where it says council is proposing to change the funding model for the Pleated District's rural water schemes, as we recognise the importance of our primary industry's contribution to the district, because with people must realise, even the urban, everyone must realise the importance of their contribution to our local district's economy. Like, I'm just wondering, do we need to slip something in there?
We can do it, but the only, I suppose, caveat is we don't ask urban to contribute to these schemes. We talked about, I suppose, some other funding options that didn't include urban, but include public good funding for these schemes, and we erred away from them.
Yeah, but at least they'll recognise, even the urban people recognise it as well as you've got your forestry companies, the whole lot. Like, water does benefit the economy of the district.
Through you, Your Worship, we actually have just about that same sentence on the next page underneath assistance capping. But by all means, we could pop it up in that top row.
See, there's three things through you, Your Worship, that have driven all this. One's pricing, the cost of it. Two's the change of land use, isn't it? So, and then three, it's the cost of, because of the cost of renewal, things are getting more expensive. So it's something that really needs to be addressed. And
You definitely had that sentence.
if you put too much information, you might create confusion as well. That's the worry.
Yeah, I think down under the assistance capping, we do make that statement, whereas maybe that statement should be at the start, where that's going to be the bit that everyone goes to.
We can certainly
Cut and paste.
add that, yeah. So we're comfortable with that. We'll remove option customer B. We will add some descriptors, and then hopefully we're not far away.
So through you, Worship, on page 18, as mentioned, we've got assistance capping. Jules, did you want to talk to that?
Yes, so we've added the 25-26 unit rate, and what that does show is a significant increase between 25-26 and 26-27 as the indicative base rate. And one of the key drivers is that with those decisions made during the LTP to spread our 45% rates increase over the 3 years, because that was done via the water rates, not just rural water, but across the board. So there was always going to be a significant increase in 26-27 as the subsidies that were applied in the previous years came off. But that shows there's still a significant jump between 25-26 to the base rate. And then the change is obviously that increase in funding for the assistance capping. So you're happy to take that as read and answer any questions, Your Worship.
Burning quickly.
It's pretty clear. The table, it's, yeah. Being on the Belmont to a peak, I think it's clear enough.
And we have flagged there too that this is actually only for 1 year, and the Water CCO may make different decisions for its funding beyond next year. But this is a way of charging for water that they can continue to implement moving forward, or choose a different charging method.
Yeah. Is it clear enough that we are negotiable on that 20%? I'm just looking at that second paragraph. Or do we not want to?
Do we just say that council has, effectively all you're doing is selecting a figure to make the capping amount? I mean, you could ask for feedback on the level of capping as well.
It's probably water scheme level. Yeah.
Well, it could be public consultation issue as well. Maybe we just add a sentence to that second paragraph that said, we welcome feedback on the level of capping as well.
I think that through you, Your Worship, is the fifth paragraph is quite important. What's said there about the benefits to other schemes, because on the face of it, everyone outside Balmoral to a peak is going to go, aren't they? Because you just look at that and you go, what? So maybe we could highlight that somehow.
Well, in the paperwork we looked at when we were discussing this, you had that broken down for years in advance of which schemes would actually appreciate.
Yeah, we're definitely, well, we're planning to do an agenda item to go to all the rural water scheme meetings that has a lot more detail than that. So that's going to have the future years, it's going to have the different options. It's also going to have the information like a universal water rate and the public good stuff. So I think it's really important that the rural water schemes understand council looked at like 5 or 6 options, and this is the one they landed on. So they're going to have a lot more background than Joe Public. If Joe Public want that information, it's available to them. It's not a problem. But we just wanted the water schemes to have a lot more detail. So when they're making a submission, they can go, well, council looked at all these things and some of them were going to be way worse for us. So actually we think hopefully they think we've come to a middle ground. But that's up to each scheme to look at that information and make a submission either individually or as a water scheme committee through the submission process.
But then it also goes back to that paragraph from 1st July 27. Rural water schemes will be under, so it's up to them then, isn't it, if they carry on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship, I think it's, if we can, prudent for us to set a system up that they like to carry on with. Otherwise, we're at the lap of the gods, really, aren't we?
We're potentially at the lap of the gods anyway, but
Yeah. Told you about it, been talking about it for 5 years. Anymore than all the scheme chairmen were, although some of them aren't the chairman anymore. But it's not a new topic, and all committees should be aware of it. It's just the day's arriving, that's all where it's going to be discussed publicly.
It's probably not the place today, but when you first started the discussion, the Greenfield scheme might have only cost 15 or 16 million.
Yeah.
Or harmonisation may have been.
It was 20. Yes. Things have changed, I do agree.
Any further discussion? Peter?
Okay. I might just note as we pass that page that there is a reference to consequential amendments to the revenue and financing policy that will be picked up in the questions as we come to them. So the next this consultation document is the feedback form and the questions themselves. If we move to page 20, we might just go through, Your Worship, each of the questions themselves, starting with the Milton Centennial Pool, and ask members, noting we have had some discussion about these previously in workshops, whether they're comfortable with that question or have suggestions.
Pretty straightforward, isn't it? You either support it or you don't.
I think we need to keep in mind is that for some people, this will be the only thing they read. So we can't put all the information that we need to in this level. We've got to, if they aren't going to read it, it's just the way it's going to be.
So with, through Your Worship, we might move on to the next one, which is the urban water rating maps. And
It's pretty straightforward too.
There's no comments. Move on to the next one. Your Worship. The next one, Tapanui Library and West Otago Community Centre. These options go back to the discussion we had a few minutes ago. Police. If there's no questions, Your Worship, we'll move on.
Pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or do you, because there's 2 options, is it a straightforward, do you support? Or is it, which option do you support?
There's 3.
Just 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if you say yes, there's actually 2 options here, isn't there? So
They just need to choose between the 2 funding options if they support it.
So through Your Worship.
do you support the funding, and if so, which option?
Through you, Your Worship, I could say, which option do you support with respect to the integrated takeaway library?
Yeah, drop the do you support the funding?
Which option?
Which option?
Which funding option?
What is your prepared funding option?
You can't really say which funding option, because one of the funding options is not to fund it.
Yeah.
The switch option.
And that'll have to be changed back on the previous page.
So, through your worship, move on.
Mm-hmm.
Going on to page 21. First element is voluntary targeted rates.
Relatively straightforward.
There's no further comments, your worship. Move on.
Move on.
The next one on underneath on the right, left, rural water availability charge in question.
Your worship, probably the only question, the 50%, we're pretty sure that's what it will land on, or could it be?
Are we not proposing to change from the 50% at this stage?
Yeah.
Could be, if it's done by the water CCA, they might do more work, but we haven't done the work to say it's going to be a different 50%. Remember, it's only for 1 year too.
Yes, yeah, no, that's right. Thank you.
So if there's no further questions, your worship, we might move to the next one. Rural water assistance capping.
Your Worship, would you like to add another line here to say we're open to feedback about the cap, right?
I think we just have that in the text, Becky.
Yeah, it's quite simple, either support it or you don't.
If you want to make comment on the percentage or the capping level, that can be, please provide feedback on that.
Okay, moving on through your worship to the next one, which is the consequential amendments to Council's revenue and financing policy.
Pretty straightforward, isn't it? Do we need to even ask that? Because if we've made a decision to do it, we've got to make the changes anyway.
But you've written it in the policy already. And
I might ask Gay to talk to this to answer that question through your worship.
Sorry, what was the question?
Well,
Do we need to consult on it?
no, sorry. I had assumed we would not make the consequential changes in the revenue and financing policy until council has agreed to apply those different charging mechanisms. And I sort of was assuming that they were consequential changes based on the decisions rather than asking specifically about them. If the council decides to do it, then they have to be made to give effect to those decisions.
Yeah, your issue is that any changes to revenue and financing policy need to be consulted on. So this is the best way, the most expedient way to do it would be to roll it up into this consultation rather than potentially having to do a further consultation post the decision. I do think perhaps we can change the wording here slightly rather than it being a yes or no question, just saying, do you have any feedback as to the proposed changes in the rural order? And then it removes it as a yes no question.
So what if we get support for the changes and then not support for changing the policy?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if you remove the yes or no, people may say, I don't think the revenue and financing policy is specifically clear enough as to this particular the consequences of this particular funding option. But I do believe that the advice we received anyway is that there has to be consequential changes, and I believe that does have to be consulted on. Because it's not a correction of an error.
Through your worship, can I just confirm, I think our legal advice is we needed to do something along these lines.
Yes, yeah, that's what I just mentioned. Yeah. So our advice was that actually it needed to be this consequential amendments were needed to be made. And because it's consequential amendments to the revenue and financing policy, it does have to be consulted on.
So does that mean we need another page further up to say these are the consequential changes to the revenue and financing policy?
It's already there, and there Becky is loading up the
changes.
Or proposed changes.
Proposed changes, yeah. It's already mentioned in the narrative there, and Becky, we do have a separate item in supplementary documentation, one of which is the revenue and financing policy changes.
So it's not in the CD, it's in the supplementary information.
Yes, as per the
Okay.
local rule ordinance and stuff like that.
Yeah, so can I just while we're on that subject, so in that policy statement, you've highlighted the suggested changes in
Yes.
red. You'll leave that in red.
In the as it goes out to consultation, yes, it will.
In the revenue and policy statement, you've got changes.
Yes, mark it
Marked
red.
in marked red,
Yeah.
and they'll stay marked red when it goes out.
To consultation, yes, it will.
Yeah.
And we did also note in the narrative there that this would be pending final legal advice. Any further questions, Peter?
So, through your worship, if there's no further comments on the questions, I might revert back to your forward and ask you if you'd like to discuss that.
Do we need 5 or 10 minutes to have a quick look through?
I don't waffle that much. There's not much COPEX or OPEX in it, trust me.
I just thought people might need a few minutes to read it. Me and Mark?
I think it looks good.
I think one of the key messages we tried to stress is that the rates increase of nearly 19% is locked in during the LTP. So yes, it is a little bit higher than that, but actually that was just giving effect to the decisions to avoid a 45% rates increase in 1 year. So yeah, I suppose that was some key messaging.
And just to reiterate for the likes of Brendan and Rachel's, even Roger's benefit, that it was locked in 3 years ago. There's no avoiding it. We've known about it for all this time. Always knew it was going to be a knotty one. And the other point is want to stress is that we just can't continually keep borrowing money to avoid the facts. I'm sorry, but it's still a pretty raw sort of a message, but it's the best I can get it close to based on the facts that we're dealing with and with taking you guys into consideration. You know, I've got that section of there where I mentioned alongside, like talking to ratepayers, their elected councillors, meaning yous, that we've given it a good old roasting over the last few weeks, haven't we? Gone through it line by line, so I'm pretty comfortable with where we've landed, and everyone's bloody done good, I think. So, and the staff.
Your worship, what's said in here is honest, and it's how it is. In the story, doesn't matter whether it's good or bad news, it's just how it is.
This is a situation with doubt, so.
Also, through you, your worship too, it also gives you guys some background if ratepayers come and talk to you and say, what the hell is this rates increase so high? You can say, well, actually it was locked in as part of the LTP. So yes, we can make some tweaks around the edges and we're looking to reduce it as much as we can through the submission process, but this was the starting.
We can go, not us.
Well, you could take that alternative.
Oh, you won't.
I didn't hear too, that could come back.
Worry about them then, shall we? Yeah, no, well, I think it's a good document. The message is really good, and it's, as I said, it's honest. It's how it is, and there's no fluffing around, hiding anything. It's reality.
We can't sugarcoat it, so. I dare say once this goes out, well, when comms go out after today's meeting, the things will start getting a bit more lively.
Well, your worship, I've discussed with a few people what it's looking like, and there's been no venom so far. So, well, it's flagged a while ago, and it's what it is. So.
I would point out that this doesn't include an increase for escalation in fuel costs, so we'll have to deal with that once we know the quantum of how long that's going to last. Because that'll come through in a lot of, through our contractors and all sorts of areas, if it stays where it is for a prolonged period of time. I can't recall any time where diesel was more expensive than unleaded 91, but that's where we're at the moment.
The theft of it's already started, trucks on sides of roads and everything. So.
Yeah, your worship, and they're all sending out letters about a fuel adjustment cost, all the
Yeah,
transport companies, so.
Sharers, all sorts of people.
yeah. But, yeah, so like I say, I think we've done the best we can do to, in a very poor situation we're confronting, but, this is the reality of it. And don't be surprised if the media, once it comes out, it is public, we've estimated or, currently at 20 point whatever, they'll be circling.
And the media know where we're watching on a live stream,
That's
and
right.
they've got access to all of our documents, but we are intending to put a press release out relatively soon after this meeting too, because it's public information. And we want to highlight people feedback through the annual plan process.
Yeah. Well, they possibly will be watching because Trump doesn't listen to them. So he won't listen to them.
So we've just got a little bit more to do, Your Worship. I might make mention that in the back of the document we've just reviewed, there's reference to community funding, which is what we do normally, and provide the community with a structured opportunity to come forward with our proposals or requests. Substantially, Lily in the community services area manages a lot of that work, and that will be a pressure point for going forward in terms of our tight timelines.
And budgets.
Yes. So that was the main consultation document we've done a page turn on. We made reference earlier at the beginning of the session that there's a number of supporting documents, such as the draft financial information. And I just might ask if members had any comments or questions on that, noting the handout with minor editorials, adjustments that we've already proposed to make.
Are we allowed to discuss any of those documents?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we start with financial information. If we just run through the order they've been posted, that way we can tick them off through Your Worship in a logical order. So the financial information one was the next one that was loaded up, which is separate cover 01B. I'm sure Sharon's available to answer any questions about a whole lot of technical financial information, but we just wanted to make sure, don't intend to go through it page by page. It was just if you had any comments or queries, we can tick those off as we go. And we're finished. Oh, right. No, sorry, Larry.
Welcome, Councillor Frost.
So Councillor Frost, we're just running through the supporting documents for feedback. So if you've got any feedback on the draft financial information.
Sharon, the revenue, I see like in the long-term plan, we're budgeting 80, we've undershot the runway.
So is that page 1, Your Worship?
Page 1, yeah. So annual plan this year, we're only forecasting 77.859.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship. That's explained a little bit in the consultation document, but part of it is that our rates are actually under the quantum we said we were going to get because of changes we made to last year's annual plan. So in last year's annual plan, we went from 19.74% we started with in the LTP to 16.67%, and that saved us a quantum of rates and had a flow-on effect to this year, and then we've done the same this year so far.
Sorry, Sharon, but the rates in this document's only about $700,000 less.
Yeah, that's part of it. The other part of it, another big part of that is relating to the NZTA subsidy with changes in the approved program. From when we did the long-term plan, the timing of NZTA actually approving a program is something like August or September, and we have to do our budgets in June. So they didn't approve what we initially had in our budgets. So that moved as well.
Any more questions for Sharon? Fees and charges, I see we're coming backwards and aren't we discussing them this afternoon? Put them up.
Sharon, through you, Sharon.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship. That was also, most of that difference is around solid waste. There was an error in the LTP calculation of the fees for solid waste. They were higher than they should have been, quite significantly.
You happy with the depreciation component, Councillor McAteer?
Yeah, that's only purely the consultation document.
Right, if we've finished with that one, the next one's the rates information, which is item 01C. Again, this will be Sharon's baby. So this includes all the detailed individual rates types. And the important thing is the rates example, potentially the rates examples as well. Because if communities are looking at those rates examples, that tells them what the impact is for them specifically. And the other thing to just remember is that for the rural, it doesn't include any rural water scheme costs. So, because half the rural have water and half the rural don't, give or take.
Yeah, Your Worship, I've got nothing on that. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Any questions on that one? The next one is the urban water maps. We probably don't need to go into that. You've all had a look at those. If they're out for consultation, people get to provide us feedback. So if we're happy with those, we'll just skip that one completely, just unless anyone wants to specifically look at it. Doesn't sound like a burning issue, so we'll jump straight over to 01E, which is the revenue and financing policy draft, which again, quite a technical document. And that, as we discussed before, that has the proposed, if you agree with the changes to the rural water financing, it has the changes highlighted in red.
But if people actually take the time to read this, it actually explains a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing there's probably a few train spotters who will go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but it's not something that most people in the community will read through. But it's available, and we make it available, and people can access
Always
it.
good to have a copy so that you can refer back to it. Answer them.
Yep.
Oh, hang on a minute.
To be fair, it would answer a lot of questions that should come our way, Michelle.
No, you did right, but a lot of people don't love to read it, but it gives us something to give back to them, so, yeah. It's all nice to see.
Put in your papers, water scheme.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. But we'll move to the newspaper first. We've got to get all that adoption resolution that's gone through.
No.
So that brings us to the resolutions, John.
Yeah, we'll take it at a time. I think we'll take them all as one.
See, well, I'll just slot in there for the last resolution that council delegates to the deputy chief executive. In the chief executive's absence,
We'll just put acting.
acting chief executive.
And as the question was before about how we're going to communicate that, the third resolution includes all the places that we're proposing to advertise.
Your worship, just a question on 3D. The antenna, do we know how many people are actually connected to that?
I can come back in and tell you that. Would you like me to tell you now?
So people won't be able to submit on Antenno, but we send out a notice to say, hey, it's live. Go to the website, tell me, Becky.
Yes, so I'm just getting in the back end. I can actually see how many people are registered in using Antenno in our district.
I suspect most will be connected to rural water schemes and
I think it's a good
A lot of
mix.
your townships are starting to, I know we promoted with the community, West Target Community Board, big time. You
yeah.
know, for your service requests and things, or if you want to know anything that's going on, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
Well, while Becky's researching that,
And so for the whole district, we've
Yeah.
got 1,918 devices registered and with 2,762 places. So in terms of places, you can have the whole of the district, you can have just your town, you can have a couple of towns and rural water schemes. So you
Yeah.
can really elect a few addresses. So
Yes, which I do. But that's fine. I just wonder whether it's something we could promote somehow sometime. Get more people on it would be a great thing.
We put it on every rates notice.
I
We
know.
put it through a lot of stuff.
I know, I'm not saying we're not doing it. What I'm saying is, how can we do it?
more of a campaign.
Yeah, maybe, because there's still people I talk to there. Huh?
One of the major benefits I use it for is putting a service request in. You get it
Yeah,
GPSed exactly where it is. Photo goes with it as well.
it's excellent.
Yeah.
Right, back to the recommendations here, team. Would someone like to move that we accept all?
So happy to do so.
do we have a seconder? Councillor Graham. So we'll have a vote. Show of hands for you, Julie.
Yeah, please.
All those in favour, please say aye. Unanimous. Thank you for that.
Councillor Julie's all good.
Good.
Right, we'll move on to item number 2.
So I might introduce this, Your Worship. Trey is not available today. He's in Christchurch. And I would take the paper as read, just noting that for this particular fees and charges document, we have a substantial number of explanations. We did not have as many last year. And that's been a result of councillors' desire to look at a number of matters within the fees and charges document. And that's now been addressed by those additions, a couple of deletions, and I'd leave it at that, Your Worship.
We're happy to answer any questions through Your Worship about those between. It might be a team effort, it might be Sharon, it might be me, it might be someone else, but yeah. If anything you're unsure of, but this is also for consultation, so yeah, we'll get a chance to come back to us.
And the pointy end, Your Worship, is the consultation document, which was circulated as document 2A under separate cover, and that reflects what's in the paper.
Thank you and this team for the hard yards here. Peter, Councillor McAtee.
Yeah, on page 34 of the fees and charges, there's an out of district water rates, Glenkinnock and Mara Flat. And those rates there, they've been calculated on the basis of that proposed capping. But both those rates are higher than what we put out in the consultation document.
They include GST. Consultation document excludes GST.
That gets me every year.
No, we did say that those rates in that table exclude GST. So we have all of our fees and charges are including.
Okay, well, that's very simple. That's every year.
I think he realised as soon as you said
This is the fourth year. Well, for me, Peter, it's really like, there's obviously a lot of work gone into this. But can you help myself and the councillors in the reasons behind this, just a simple why, when our ratepayers challenge us or ask us the questions from a starting level with the increases that you brought in, what was your methodology in the increases? What were the drivers?
So I might just make an opening comment that Sharon might like to add. As has been past practice and mentioned in the paper, the key driver for a substantial number of them is inflation. And then in terms of the additions that you can see there, they've been individually detailed as to why. I might make the general comment that we've picked up the need, as a result of the councillors' conversations previously, to more look at the fees from a more robust cost recovery point of view, and where there's been gaps, they've been picked up. There's some minor consequentials where there's been a few amendments which have not been brought to bear where they should have been from past years, where previous decisions were made. Sharon, would you like to add to that?
Through you, Your Worship. So when these fees get updated each year, Trey will chop it up and he'll send it out to each of the GMs or their staff who are responsible for those fees. Some of them, and they have to review them and send back the proposed increases to come to council. Some of them are driven by legislation. Some of them are driven by our financial principles that some of our activities are cost recovery. So the costs fall where, user pays, basically. And some of them are just an inflationary adjustment. There's, like building control is to be cost recovery. So the people building the houses should be paying for that activity. To a percentage that's in their revenue and financing policy. So it's a bit of an art bringing this every year, I guess. It comes from a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. There's no one size fits all. Let's just slap inflation on everything.
I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate yours and Peter's feedback there, because that information is really good information for myself and the councillors when we're challenged out in the open for the public, and around the why, and there was some really, really good food for thought information there. So really appreciate that. That's great.
And through you, Your Worship, as we head into rates capping, fees and charges may get a lot more focus to increase revenue to council. We already heard this morning, some other councils are looking to increase their building control fees up to $400 an hour because they need to start bringing in more revenue. So that's going to be a really key component as we head into the next few years, and may have a lot more scrutiny and a lot more push to actually recover costs from fees and charges.
So if you're considering a lifestyle change, start studying now.
On page 10, separate covers under your food premises charge, notice. It's something that was sort of thrown around last year by a few people. Our CDC administration fee has really jumped from 40 to 215 per hour. Was that not split internally, externally last time, Rick?
Through you, your worship, that one is set by legislation.
Right, thank you.
And through you, your worship, I'm sure we will get feedback through the submission process.
Yes, you
Across
will.
the premises around that.
You know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the whole point of the process, so. Any more questions for Peter or Sharon? We'll have to take these individually.
No, you don't. No, you can take them at once if you feel. It's just a straight.
Yeah.
So you've got the right wording under item 6, I think.
Acting.
Oh, decision items.
Yes.
Well, we could take all these recommendations as one, if someone would like to move that. Move Councillor Kennedy, would anyone like to second that?
Evidently, second.
Councillor Harrison or Councillor Costa? I think Councillor Harrison was the sharp.
Okay.
He's got a head. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, carried. Now, that brings us to the end of today's meeting. So, thank you very much for your attendance, and we'll call the meeting to an end.